Hi, friends. My name is Clayton Bullion. I'm on staff at the Tarleton Baptist Student Ministry in Signal, Texas, and we are here at Abide, the BSM Winter Prayer Conference with BSMs from all over the state. And so I'm here with my good friend, Warren Ethridge.
Yes.
So Warren, you're at TCU. Tell us a little bit about your campus.
Yeah, so I've been at TCU for about 8 months. TCU is an amazing Division I school, and so we enjoy kind of the benefits of watching our sports on television and being competitive in the Big 12. We're a campus of 10,000, smack dab in the middle of Fort Worth, and so we're actually like the second smallest Division I school in the nation, and so right behind Wake Forest, I believe. And so our campus is an exciting one, very high achievement. They accept about 2,000 students a year, and so very competitive to get into, but our students graduate and are leading in their fields no matter where they go.
Yeah, the influencers of our nation.
They're influence of our nation. And so we get to enjoy the benefits of the Horned Frog culture and the awesome sports. Everyone loves being on campus, and man, it's just a really exciting time.
Okay, well, fantastic. Yeah. So you're new to TCU, 8 months as the director there. Tell us, just kind of let's backtrack a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the journey. How did you end up on that campus?
Okay, so I actually came to college in 2010, actually to Tarleton State University. Came up your first year there. Yeah, your first year there. And so got really plugged into the ministry there. And over the course of my 4 years as a student, I actually came to study optometry as a biomedical science degree. And about spring of my junior year, which is one semester too late to change your major, if anyone at home is wondering, I just really felt the Lord say, hey, you've wanted to do this, but it's not what I want you to do. And so I had to really process and wrestle through that. But long story short, when I graduated, I came on as an intern and worked at Tarleton for 4 years on staff there. And then the middle of my fourth year, just kind of this holy discontent of, I think, my wife and I started praying and said, I think we've been prepped and equipped to start a ministry from the ground up. And so is the Lord really wanting us to stay here, or are we wanting to be sent? And we started praying through some things, and TCU became available, and we walked campus and knew as soon as we walked on that this is where we need to be. And so moved to Fort Worth, did all the transitions at once, new house, new family, or not new family, new member of the family. We had a daughter.
And she's beautiful.
She's great. I'm biased, but I think she's great. New jobs and the whole 9 yards. And so we've been in Fort Worth for 8 months. So yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us and just kind of the shaping of TCU and kind of the working on and kind of changing directions of that ministry. What's the Lord been doing on your campus?
Well, for one, the Lord has prepped campus way before we got there. And so TCU, as I mentioned earlier, is a very high achievement, excelling school. And so students get there and man, they are ready to put the nose to the grind and get work done. But the dark side of a high achievement culture is when you don't achieve, there's high rates of anxiety and depression, and unprecedented levels. And so like I'm really kind of leading for the state. And so one of the parts of my job when I interviewed students as I came there, I said, what aspect of the gospel do students most need in their life? You know, outside of the salvation from sin, there's other things that come with someone accepting the gospel, and each one of them in one way, shape, or form, whether it was campus staff, like faculty, or students, said the peace that comes from having a hope placed in something that's unchanging. And so, we wanted to build a ministry that extended the invitation of what the gospel is to every student. And the long-term goal is that in the 4 years that students are on our campus, that they will get to the opportunity to hear the invitation of the gospel from a friend. And so we've been equipping students. We just started, this is spring, this is our second semester here, and so we just started our first leadership team of students that we are equipping in evangelism, discipleship, and missions. And not only that, but equipping them in how to equip others in those things so that they can raise up leaders, and no matter where they are sent out after they go to TCU, that they're great leaders. And so they don't only benefit the BSM, but they benefit what the churches they plug into and overall the eternal ramifications of being ministry movement for the kingdom of God. And so just equipping them in how to do those things and equip others to do it as well.
Yeah, so it's this long-term multiplying effect, because what happens on the campus changes the course of a generation.
Yeah, I mean, my job aspect is to help equip them to benefit Horned Frog BSM, but really, and as a member of and an heir of the Lord, like we want to equip them to equip churches, to equip the churches that equip churches later, no matter where they're at. So we've got we have an amazing business school, we have an amazing nursing school, and they're going to be sent out to all the corners of the earth. And so what does it look like to equip them now so that one day we can lift up our eyes and see horned frogs sent to the ends of the earth that got equipped while they were on the college campus and benefit the kingdom of God that way?
For sure. And so I just think through this passage in Zechariah where it talks about don't despise the day of small beginnings. And so coming from your college experience and your ministry, being a part of Tarleton BSM, developing and learning and going through the junior high stage of figuring out who we were, kind of thing. And then being sent out and being a part of what's going on. You've seen the stages of starting and trying to figure this thing out and kind of polishing things. And so you've gone full circle back to starting and kind of recreating what the culture was going to be. Yeah. Tell us a little bit. You and I've talked about, Abide is a gathering of BSMs, fall retreat. Tell us about kind of what that's done, things like this does for your students who come.
Yeah. Something we didn't mention earlier is during my time at Tarleton, like our first leadership team that second semester was like a team of 6. And then my last year, I was there on campus as a student and staff for 7.5 years. So like at the end of that 7.5 years, we saw a discipleship movement where we could point to a map and like the end of the year and say there's 144 people being equipped by staff and students to do evangelism discipleship mission. So a leadership team of 6 to an influence of 140, maybe even more. And so we really wanted to recreate that at TCU, and we're in the beginning stages of that. And so helping to see that movement type mindset. But when we went to fall retreat and Abide and stuff like that, our students hadn't been exposed to, hey, this is bigger than just us. So in their minds, like what the BSM existed and what the BSM does was to provide a Bible study on campus, which isn't wrong, but it's just a small slice of the bigger picture of what we can be and what I believe that God has asked of us on that campus. And so like we were sitting at a retreat and there was a BSM there that had 80 students, and I got to take 4 students. And I was thrilled about it.
Oh yeah, that's a huge win.
Yeah, it's a huge win. And so they looked around and then went, oh my gosh, that BSM has 80 people. Like, how do they meet? Like, what do they do for their Bible study? And it's like, well, they have multiple Bible studies all over campus. They're like, do they meet? Do they meet in a building? Is it big enough? And I was like, you don't need to. They just meet on campus. Like wherever they do life, that's where they meet because that's who they're influencing. And because of that, we've gotten to have conversations. And so even like this week, we've got 600 students here that are all here to pray for their campuses, for their families, the nations, everything, for all over. And they're looking around and said, okay, we're a part of something way bigger, which prompts the question, is the vision for our campus big enough? And so we get to lead into having conversations of what can we do, but what does the Lord ask us to do, which hopefully look the same after you've consulted the Word and spent time with the Lord.
So the Lord's doing some amazing things. We've got horned frogs that have been involved in Go Now missions now.
Yeah, sent our 2 first Christmas missionaries this Christmas. They did great. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So where did they go? What did they do?
We had one student work in New York City with the Metropolitan New York Baptist Association. And he speaks Spanish, so he worked a lot with Latin American churches, and I'm not going to tell what section it was because I can't remember which part of New York it was, but he got to do that. And then my other student is a nursing major and got to go to some of the mountains of Haiti and do mobile clinics up there.
So use her degree.
Yeah, it was him. He used his degree. Yeah, he's the one guy on the trip. Him and his dad's a registered nurse, and so his dad went with him, and they got to lead out on some of that stuff. So it was an excellent trip. So yeah.
Really cool, really cool. And as you guys have been out sharing the gospel on campus, how is that received at Texas Christian University?
So Texas Christian University they do a great job of protecting the students from what could be interpreted as pushy conversations. And you want to be really careful about that. And so what we've done is we've trained students to say, hey, you can have, and kind of destigmatize the mindset of sharing the gospel has to be pushy. It doesn't. Like you can have really great conversations about spiritual things and both sides walk away and say, man, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, that was fun. That was good. That was enlightening.
But I think campus has experienced some situations that weren't that way. And so we've basically taught our students say, hey, man, we're not there to win people. Like we're not there to save people. Only the Lord does that. We just want to extend an invitation and have a spiritual conversation with our friends, our peers, the people that sit around us in class. And so, man, that's just what we want to do. And so it's been really, really well. We saw our first student come to know the Lord last semester, and that was really, really exciting. One of our staff members led her to the Lord over the course of discipleship. And then there was one week where we do a weekly evangelism training, and there was one week my coworker and I didn't get to go, and so we gave it to the students. We had two really consistent students and said, "Hey, will you guys just lead out on that? Y'all just take it." And one of our students got to lead a girl to the Lord, and so that's been thrilling, and it's what we've been celebrating and saying, "Look, this is what we should expect. This shouldn't be the."
It's not the exception; it's the norm. Yeah,
this should be the pattern, not the exception. And so, patterning our ministry to say, how do we need to reorient ourselves so this is what's normal. And so, it's been really, really exciting.
So as you've kind of sensed God's calling and leading to TCU, how did that come about? How's your ministry funded?
Okay. So for my family, myself, we looked at college campuses, and not just in Texas, but the world, and said, this is one of the most influential places that we can influence students to set patterns to follow the Lord more intently, I guess I should say, for the rest of their lives. Like that 18 to 23-year-olds, all the patterns that I practiced in my life I set in that period. And so this is the best target place to do that. And so we started looking at it. And as we looked in campuses in the state of Texas, the need is great. But we benefit greatly from the cooperative program and different sources like that. But the vision that God's given us exceeds some of those things. And so we started praying and saying, okay, how can we be on places where there's just not enough money? And TCU is one of those places. And so we have partnered with churches and individuals, and we have a support team that comes alongside of us. And as stewards of God's money have said, I think that your ministry is worth investing in. We want to see a return on our investment for the kingdom of God. Mm-hmm. And so we want to partner with you in that to do that. And so I've got a team of about 60 people that are a part of that give generously from what the Lord's made them stewards over to see like basically my salary and the things that come alongside of that taken care of. And then for ourselves on the mission field itself, our budget for the BSM is all raised through churches. The local our Tarrant Baptist Association does a great job of partnering with myself as an individual, but also us as a ministry to see Horned Frogs hear the gospel and to fund some of those things. Yeah. And so we are, in a lot of different ways, man, we're an example of churches coming together and saying, this is something that's important to us. And then putting money that shows that as well. And so we want to be good stewards of that as a ministry, but also as individual who people have partnered with and saying, look, this is what's going on. We don't ever want to see a Judges 2:10 situation where the Israelites come out of like Egypt, all of Exodus happens. You see the plagues, you see these amazing things happen. And then Judges 2:10 talks about Joshua passing away. It said there arose a generation that neither knew the Lord or what he had done. And so we want to tell the story of what's happened on the college campus, because ultimately we want the kingdom of God, God's people, the church, we want them to know this is what the Lord's doing. We don't want to ever look up and say, I don't recognize where the Lord is at because I don't remember what he's doing. I haven't heard that. And so we get to be a part of that storytelling.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, you are as we pioneer work on new campuses, and TCU in some ways is kind of the frontier. We've got some others we're starting to see kind of work pop up across the state.
Yeah.
And it's really, you function very much like a missionary.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the front lines, just like all of us as campus ministers, but saying the cooperative program at Texas Baptist are providing some structure for us to do things.
Yes, they are.
But my salary is coming from individuals and local churches on the ground that are seeing the ministry, that are saying, we rally behind this. We want to see this happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
So Warren, I'm really appreciative, partly because you and I started on Charlton's campus like within a week of each other.
We did. We outlasted the funky junior high years of that growth. Yeah. Not sure what deodorant is, trying to figure it out.
Oh, man. Adolescent BSM.
Man, it's funky.
But I'm just really grateful. I'm glad to get to hang out with you as not just as a peer, but also just a partner in ministry.
Yeah.
To see a generation come to the Lord.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Man, me too. It's fun.